Okay, welcome to this webinar, which is the Customer Maker Designing a Powerful Marketing Engine. My name is Sunil Bhaskaran. My business partner, Bill Bellew, is actually probably listening in on this call. He won't be able to join us. He's joining us remotely, but I'll be presenting this call, and I'm looking forward very much to doing so. Again, a hearty welcome to all of you. And today's topic, like I said, is designing a powerful marketing engine. And before I start, just one thing I want to really encourage you all to do. I do this at the start of every presentation, even my live presentation sometimes, and that is the invitation to really turn off everything else that's what we're operating in the background, including Skype or email or iTunes or any other distractions. I'm going to invite you to consider that this is your time, in the next hour, hour and a half or so, to silence your phone, close the door, give yourself the gift of time to discover the secrets in marketing and in business that could really help you fulfill your dreams and goals. So it's my invitation, and it's probably a very worthwhile invitation to take up on. A couple of questions for you, and could you use more customers? It's the first question for you. It sounds like a very almost silly question to ask, but if you're in business, the question is, could you use more customers? Are you tired of going through the ups and downs of success in your marketing? Is it difficult or challenging to sell to your current customers? Or if you're doing a project, are you having difficulty engaging an audience or building an audience for your project or your book? Are you disenchanted with the results you're currently having in your sales and conversions to customers? Have you been in business for a while, but the business marketing and sales is just not quite where it could be or where it should be or where you would like it to be? Are you happy with your profits and your results? Are you getting burnt out or not excited about the systems or marketing you have now? Are you underpriced or undercharging your customers for the services that you're providing? Some of you may be overworked and underpaid. What has stopped you in moving forward? It's the next question for you. And I invite you to entertain these questions for yourself because I want this webinar to be highly relevant to you, and not just the tactical level, but a strategic and a level of vision for yourself. What you really want for yourself, what's going to make the most difference for you. Do you want this year to be better than last year or more of the same? Do you want it to be better, not just in terms of more money, but all the other things in life that matter to you, like your family, your kids, time that you have for yourself, the art that you may be doing on the sideline, times that you have with your best friends? What are the things that really matter to you that you like to have and include more in your life and not just work all the time? You want to create a sustainable and proven business that more than validates your leadership and abilities. I know a lot of you have capabilities that you are aware of, and you see other people getting ahead who are not as capable. I'd like to have you entertain the possibility today that today could be the day that you turn that around out of the things that you learned in this webinar. You may be spending too much time spinning your wheels in your market or your marketing and business and seriously wish to make a change in order to have more focus and clarity on a day-to-day basis. And you're in the right place today if you wish to learn how to sell more. You're in the right place today in this webinar if you're sick and tired of being overwhelmed. You're in the right place if you're new to business and wish to make a solid, successful launch, avoiding unnecessary mistakes. The things that you can't avoid, you're probably going to make mistakes, but there's some unnecessary mistakes that you can probably avoid. You're in the right place today if you wish to get an engaged and inspired audience who's going to buy from you. And you're in the right place today if you wish for more satisfying results and a lifestyle that reflects that. But the reality is, for most of you, ladies and gentlemen, is that there are three real fears. The first fear that some people have in marketing is I will fail to sell because I'm not good at it. Or the second fear is my systems of marketing will not work or improve no matter what I do. Some of you have been disenchanted because you tried over and over again working with different marketing systems and they may not have worked for you. There may be some really more profound reasons why they're not working for you. It could be systemic. It could be something dealing with you and your personality and your style. But we want to start uncovering that and really making strides towards having your systems work for you. The third fear is I'll get resigned from too much rejection and give up. So what about you? What are some of your fears for yourself, particularly that you've been dealing with, or some of the concerns that you have? These are some of the things we're going to learn today. The first thing is avoid two dangerous pitfalls or traps that most people fall into that leave you tired and with no sales. The second thing is how to design this marketing engine so you get the kinds of results that people envy. Thirdly, how to implement this engine effectively and with clarity. And fourthly, how to make sure that you follow through on this process to success. There's a little gift at the end. I shouldn't say it's a little gift. It's quite actually a profoundly good gift. The kind of gift I wish I had when I first started my business. But we're offering a gift at the end of this webinar, so stay tuned. And it'll be offered at the end of the webinar. Just to share a little bit about our breakthroughs, Bill and I, my business partner and I, and I'm sharing this for two reasons. Obviously, I want to build some credibility with you so you know who I am and what Bill and I are capable of providing for you. But secondly, I want you to really understand that the things that I'm sharing with you are not theoretical only. You can't treat it as theory, but there's a tremendous amount of applicability to your life and to your business. It actually produces results, in other words. So our meetup size currently, we have a, those of you who are unfamiliar with Meetup, meetup.com is a site that you can go to where you can set up your own groups that you can market to, in a sense, and help people come to your events. And our meetup size cumulatively altogether, Bill and I, it's actually more than 18,100. We just checked it a few days ago. It's probably grown a lot more than that. Our combined Rolodex of networking contacts is more than 25,000. That's probably a conservative number. Bill has a Twitter group of more than 50,000. I think that's probably grown way more than that as well by now. I designed this webinar yesterday with this PowerPoint, and so numbers actually do increase almost on a daily basis. On our last launch, and we've done a couple of launches very successfully. The last launch, though, we did more than $100,000 in a 6-week period. Bill Bellew's website gets about 90 million hits. At a future webinar, I'll have him explain more of that and demonstrate how that works and how he's done that. In our last batch of clients, which was in September, at least 3 of our clients are doubling traffic every month right now. And we actually have a client last week who had a waiting list for her meetup. I think that was the first time she ever had a waiting list for a meetup. It's completely sold out. And now she's actually picking and choosing who she wants to have in a group. It's a really sweet place to be. And our network typically grows at about 600 to 1,000 people every month. So just to let you know, those are some of the numbers that we're experiencing. All right. But it wasn't all great at one point. Designing the marketing strategy was not my strength when I first started in 1991. And I'm curious to see if people are actually seeing the webinar. I'm getting reports that some people are not seeing the webinar. Let me check looks like it's all here. Looks like it's working, so I'm not sure. Bill, maybe check your settings and see if it's doing that. Okay, great. All right, thank you, Brad. All right, so moving right along. So at one point, the designing marketing strategy was not my strength. And if you're in that position, this should be encouraging to you, because it took me about 3 months to really get going. At least 3 months will not get you to mastery, but 3 months will get you to some solid results. And what I've seen is stress levels tend to go down within 3 months if you start really focusing better. Focusing and strength and stress seem to have an inverse relationship. The more focus you put, the lower your stress tends to go down, and the more productive you tend to be. The other thing at that point was I did not have the sales or marketing mindset or practices to get me to success, but I learned over time. And this is important to understand that you can learn over time. I could not convert prospects into clients for the life of me. I tried very hard initially. And, I was trained as an engineer, and I thought, bringing a lot of smarts and logic and trying to convince people would help really sell. But I discovered very quickly that didn't work. And I want to share some things with you that will help you if you're in that space. If you're thinking from a more logical area, which, of course, you want to think logically. But it takes more than logical thinking to sell. You have to sell from an emotional perspective as well. So one of the first breakthroughs I had was actually hiring a mentor or a coach who really took me under his wing. And I really worked intensively with him almost on a daily basis. And that really made a huge, huge, huge difference. And one of the first breakthroughs was in focusing on the right target markets. So I had a lot of target markets. I was going to a lot of networking events when I lived in Irvine at that time. I go to networking events as far as Los Angeles, which is about an hour and a half away sometimes with traffic. I would even go down to San Diego. I would go to all these networking events and I just threw myself at it, right? And I was not getting a lot of results. So one of the first things I did was to focus my target markets, and we isolated my target markets to a group of companies in the Irvine area. Hey, close to me where I lived, didn't have to travel that far. And we found out what the pain points were. So I found out what I had to say that was compelling enough to the business owners of these companies. And what I discovered very quickly was, and to much my pleasure, was that the sales cycle went down. It took a lot shorter for me. I could just like describe in a couple of sentences what I did and what I could provide for them in terms of software services, which is what I did at that point. And they would look at me and go, well, we need to talk. Now, you need to have conversations like that. And that's part of what you want to learn to do in rethinking your marketing strategy so that your sales cycles are a lot shorter. Your sales efforts should be a slave to the marketing thinking and not the other way around. And sometimes you have to adjust your marketing based on what you're seeing in your selling efforts. But really what you want to learn to do is to find out what is compelling to say and what was not compelling and what is not compelling to say to your market. This is a picture by those of you who are on the computer and can see my screen. You see a picture of me. I actually made a lot of money in 1996, and I took some time off. And initially, it was going to be 3 months. It turned out to be a year and a half that I took off. And but what I want to really share here is it was a great breakthrough to have that. I mean, we sold our company, my business partner and I, for quite a lot of money, and we split the profits. And of course, I decided to take some time off. But here's some of the lessons that I want to share with you. That's more important for you to understand. The first thing, again, and I can't reemphasize this enough, is like we looked at the strategy first. Look at the target market. And one of the things I looked at was, do I have enough passion for this market to serve this market? And passion is really literally, comes the root word of passion. The root meaning of passion is the willingness to suffer for a short period of time for worthy goals, for goals that are worthy to you. So when you look at starting a business, you got to look at, the strong probability that you're going to go through some breakdowns and struggles and efforts. It's just natural. It's just par for the course. It's what's going to happen probably. You're very lucky if you don't go through that. But I don't wish that upon you, because the lessons you can learn will be sustainable for the next business you have or the next effort that you have. And these are things that you can teach your children. If you have the right passion, then you're willing to learn the lessons. You're willing to go through that to have the results you're looking for. If you find the right pain points in your market, that's the next thing. You got to look at if those are the right pain points that you're addressing, the true pain points. Most people won't divulge this to you right away. You have to dig in a little bit by asking questions and doing the right kind of research and the right kind of questions that you pose for them, and with the right kind of incentives for them to respond to you. So when you set it up that way, then you're more than likely to produce results. Okay, so it's got to be the right pain points. Then you got to have the right target markets. And so the right pain points, the right target markets, you don't want to just, sell to everybody. That's going to take up too much of your money and too much of your pain and your brain bandwidth. So you want to be able to focus maybe on one or two at the most, one preferably. But if you have the right pain points, target markets, you understand your audience very well, then the next thing is to do is to figure out what kind of offers, the right kind of offers or packages or things that you're going to offer them that they're going to write you a check for, or give you a credit card for, or give you cash or gold. So you want to find the right combination, right passion, right pain points in the target market, the right target markets, and the right offers. And then when you have that, then you can set up the right systems, the correct systems or the best systems that are going to convert from your website or through your presentations or a combination of all that, online and offline systems and sales funnels that are going to feed you and feed your business for a long time. So in concurrent with that, what we did when we to have us be successful in our business back in 1995, starting through end of actually March of 1996, was we had a really good plan. And what we started off was a rough plan. The rough plan had milestones every month, and there were only like 4 maximum objectives. I think when we did it, we actually only had like 2 really high priority objectives every month. Certain amount of the software had to be written that we were going to sell to this a group of companies. We had to get a certain amount of money in every month, in order to keep us going. So those were the 2 primary milestones that we had. So what you want to think of is, what are the primary milestones that you should focus on? And I admit it's a little complicated. Not everything is that straightforward. And if it's complicated, I would embrace that complexity, because if you deal with that complexity, you're probably going to do better than your competition. So if you're a little muddled about what those milestones are, that may be good, because you need to dig a little deeper and find out what they are. What are the real objectives that you're willing to put your butt behind to really make sure that they happen? The third thing is focus. It's a practice. And this focus has to be done on a daily basis. And what this includes is the fine-tuning of your goals and your plan. If you review your plan every day, which is what I pretty much do, there's a good chance you're going to hit, if not exceed, your goals over the year. The primary reason why a lot of people fail is because they fail to have enough bandwidth in their day to look at and review that plan in a creative manner. You got to be able to sit back in a coffee and relax while your team's doing all the work, preferably, or if you set up your schedule right, you have the right amount of bandwidth in a day to review your goals and plan and see if your strategy still makes sense, or if you can review it and refine it and optimize it as best as you can. The fourth thing you want to do as a practice is also mitigate risk versus return on investment in both your time and money investments. And primarily in your time, because a lot of you probably have more time than money at this point. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. A lot of people start that way. But you want to leverage your time in a smart manner and not spin your wheels doing things in your projects and tasks that are not giving you a return on investment in terms of money or satisfaction. You got to look at both satisfaction and money coming back to you. And if that ain't happening, then you're probably going to continue spinning your wheels. Okay. All right. Now the breakthroughs come with consistent application, and this is something you really got to look at, because if you're not consistently improving where you're at on a day-to-day basis, then it's really hard to hit a breakthrough. Now, by improving, I don't mean overly challenging yourself. You got to look at the right amount of challenge you can increase every day. If you put too much challenge, then you're probably going to move into anxiety. If you put too little challenge, then you're going to get bored. And either one is not good. You got to try and hit that optimal point where your challenge levels are just a little bit ahead of your skill levels. So I hope that makes sense. Okay. Okay, great. So, I got a taste of the great lifestyle when I took that 1.5 years off. And this was a reward for the short-term suffering that I did. I mean, for 1 year, I said to myself, for 1 year, I'm going to go through some short-term suffering. There are going to be some things that I'm going to sacrifice, literally. I mean, I was just honest about it. But I also told myself that I'm not going to do this unless I'm willing to really get a great reward at the end. And the great reward I had was, I had this dream of traveling to Ireland and Maui. And this is a photograph of me in Maui, if you're looking at the computer screen. And, that was the return that you want to look at. But you got to be willing to do short-term suffering. There's some decisions that you may have to confront and deal with, some truths that you have to deal with. Are you willing to go through the work of designing a marketing system that's really going to pay off for you? Or are you going to continue doing the little experiments that may not be wise for you right now, but kind of leave you comfortable because you think you're doing something. No, you may have to pay the price of taking some time off and looking at your strategies. Um, some of my clients have taken a week or maybe a month off to really work on a strategy because it's time well spent. Now, I'm not encouraging every one of you to do it. Some of you may have to bring in cash flow, etc., and I understand. But as much as possible, you want to look at see, okay, where's the areas that I really got to do some short-term suffering or thinking or analyzing on to really make sure I get the results. Okay. A couple of testimonials here. And again, I'm sharing these testimonials for two reasons. One is to build credibility for myself and for Bill, but also to give you some lessons that were learned in working with these clients. This is client Eric Hess. Eric and his wife, Sadie, are still in business. They have a great business. It's still growing by leaps and bounds. The last time I checked with them, it's a couple of months ago. They're doing really well. And but when he first started working, in over 2 years, they grew by 150% increase in size. And they certainly attribute a lot to the distinctions that I gave them and the tools that I gave them in order to help them grow their business. And the lesson really in working with Eric and Sadie was, and this is something I'm going to invite you to look at, is that when their business really started taking off was when they realized that they needed to put their vision and their goals in alignment. What do I mean by that? You want to make sure that your vision or your future vision statement or mission statement, if you don't have a mission statement, you may want to look at creating one for yourself. What inspires you about your business and what goals you have are aligned. The reason I say this is because if you don't have them aligned, at some level, you're going to be fighting yourself. Because if you're only doing it for money, you're not that interested in the money, but you're more interested in serving the customers you have, then you may have to look and make sure that your desire to serve your customers and your ability to make money are aligned. In other words, they're going in the same direction. The practices and the tools that you have are all going in the same direction. So you want to make sure that that works. And that's really what made the difference with Eric and Sadie. When they realized that, everything just started taking off for them. Second testimonial was from Charlotte Jacobs. Charlotte's a multi-million-dollar author and trainer for healers, for people in the healing professions, includes chiropractors, acupuncturists, coaches, etc. When I first started with her, she wasn't doing very great. She was struggling. She'd just gotten out of acupuncture school, just trying to make ends meet. And what I promised her, after examining some of the data that she gave to me, I saw the opportunities that she couldn't quite identify. One of the problems with what she was doing was she was focused on too many things. And she was worried about a lot of things that didn't make any sense. So what we did was we cut down the objectives and the target markets, and we really focused on a few. And that made all the difference. And then we started really doing a concerted effort of sales, and that really worked. And she tripled her income, which is what I promised her, in actually less than 90 days. And she still uses a lot of the lessons I give, and she trains other people to do that as well. And so the lesson again is cut down the objectives. If you have too many objectives, too many areas to focus on, then that's not going to work for you. So certainly a great lesson to learn. Okay, the relevant breakthrough for me, and I'm sharing this again to you, really give you sufficient context, because if you don't have enough context, all the tactics and strategies in the world are not going to make a difference for you. The context for me was the most relevant breakthrough for me was to have more time for myself, not just more time, but more meaningful time for me. And a lot of the meaningfulness of the time was to actually have the choice of what I wanted to focus on. Having more choice time, in other words. So if you're looking at the computer screen, this is an actual snapshot of my calendar from about about 2 months ago, a little less than 2 months ago, actually about 2 months ago in November. And I changed some of the wordings to protect some of my clients and their confidentiality, but this is pretty much what it looked like. And you'll notice there are about 25 to 30 hours of free time on the calendar. About every week has that consistently. Now I choose to work in a lot of those blank times because I enjoy my work, but I have the choice to do so. And so this is what I want to impart for you. This is the most relevant breakthrough for me, and this gives me the opportunity to socialize with the friends that I enjoy being with, to be with my wife, to make a difference out there in the world. I do a lot of work in the hunger and poverty area, and I work with my Congressman Sam Farr, whom I visited a couple of times over the last couple of years, and we work very well together in terms of putting in policies that have literally saved millions of lives around the world. It's very, very, very satisfying for me to actually have the opportunity to do that. I also do a lot of volunteer work. I'm a senior volunteer here in the Santa Cruz area and I do leadership trainings at UCSC too. I'm a fairly busy guy, you might think, but I still have 30 hours of free time. And I make it work because I spread it out. I spread out my calendar. I spread out my time because I have a longer term vision and a longer term outlook on my calendar. But this is what I want to share with you. This is the greatest relevant breakthrough for me, is to have meaningful time in my life. Because you never know when you're going to pop off, and I hate to be brutally honest about it, but it's the truth. Whatever time you have available here in your time, it may be 5 minutes, it may be 10 years, maybe 25 years, maybe 50 years. I hope it's as long as possible for you and that you enjoy it as much as possible. And that is what I invite you to look at, is what is the greatest relevant breakthrough for yourself? Because that's what's going to really drive all the work that you may have to do, that I'm going to describe here pretty soon, in terms of generating your marketing. Okay, so I want to share the 2 dangerous pitfalls or traps to avoid, and get into some of the tools and salient points that are going to help you move forward in your marketing here. The 2 dangerous pitfalls. The number 1 pitfall is that people tend to focus on the how. How I'm going to serve you, my dear client, versus what you're going to get, or what you're going to get if you're my client. So to use an analogy, people tend to focus on the vehicle or the boat or the process by which they're going to serve clients, rather than what people are going to get. See, but your clients are way more interested, and they may not tell you this, but they are way more interested in what they're going to get rather than how you're going to provide your excellent service or your product. They're not interested in how the product works or how the services work. And to a certain extent, they are, of course. But they're way more interested in what they're going to get. So if you're selling a vacation, for example, you're not going to describe the process by which they're going to travel to their destination. If they're going to Hawaii, you don't want to overly describe, hey, John, you're going to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning, then you're going to line up at San Jose airport, you're going to get through security and customs, or you go to customs, and then you're going to take about a 3-hour flight, you're going to get to Hawaii, and then you're going to blah blah blah. People are already falling asleep at this point. Now, of course, you want to give some details on this, but not too much. What you want to focus on is the pleasure destination. What are they going to experience when they're in Hawaii? Well, John, your wife and you are going to have a special dinner that I arranged on the beach. And your wife is going to probably look at you and go, wow, this is amazing. How did you get to do this? And you're probably going to wink at her and yourself, because I did all the work in helping you plan this, and she didn't even know about it. Then your children are going to have a great time because they're going to swim with dolphins, and they're going to be squealing with delight, and you're going to have a great time. You're going to come back from your week-long vacation refreshed and re-energized. Now, you want to notice which one sells better, the process or the pleasure destination. And you want to apply this to your own business and look and see, okay, have I been explaining too much in terms of my process versus explaining what people are going to get? And you got to be brutally honest with yourself about this. Are you selling too much of the process? Or are you selling too much of the pleasure? The second pitfall is that people tend to get into more convincing in their sales presentations rather than guiding people through the stages of emotions and experience or trust level that will help them shake your hand and look you in the eye and say, I'm so excited to do business with you, and here's my check. Some of you convincing might work, but it may not be working as well, and it may be taking up a lot of your time, and your sales cycle may be really long. I was in a sales presentation with a new client the other day, and I was noticing that they talked a lot. They were trying to convince the customer so much that the customer finally asked the question, well, what am I really going to get in the last 5 minutes? And then I couldn't interrupt because, I was more of an observer than anything else. But in the last 5 minutes was just way too late. And so they had to terminate the conversation. And now they have to do another conversation a month later. So you're delaying sales if you don't get to the heart of the matter, what people really want. Most people are looking to build trust with you before they even learn what you can do, what you can provide for them. I did a presentation last night, and some people came up to me and said, the way you handled the presentation was that you really treated us like human beings, and you were really interested in us. And that had me really want to listen more to you. It's direct feedback I got from one of the audience members. Not tooting my horn here, but what I'm trying to say is, if you want to really look at selling and becoming more effective selling, you got to understand that most people are going to buy firstly on the basis of emotion and then on the basis of logic. More likely to happen that way. So, what are some of the steps that you want to take in creating or designing your market engine? So the first step is really to start researching a target market if you haven't done so already. Some of you may already understand your target market, and okay, congratulations to you. That's really great. But I as a practice keep looking and investigating my target markets. I do surveys from time to time. I ask questions. I pay attention during my conversations with my clients and my prospects and my audience members. And I really list down. Bill and I have a practice of writing down all the questions and keeping track of the questions people ask, because that's what's going to tell us where the pain points are, what's going to be compelling for them to know and understand. You don't want to give away all your information, but you want to be able to tell people that, hey, I can help you solve these most salient, most important pain points and problems and challenges that you have. And if I can help you solve these problems, would you at least have a conversation with me? That's a powerful way to start marketing and selling your business. And this is what I'm going to invite you to do from now on, is to really focus on the clarity and the focus that you need in your target marketing. The second thing is to learn how to create compelling offers. This comes from the research that you do and paying attention to your market. If people are not buying, the harsh truth is the offer just wasn't relevant to them, or it just wasn't compelling enough for them. If it wasn't relevant to them, then you may have to fine tune your traffic generation, what kind of traffic of leads you're bringing in. This is never perfect, by the way, so don't feel disheartened because you're not doing a good job. You can improve it over time. Bill and I, our system is not perfect by any ways, but it's certainly pretty good. But how we got to good was we kept fine-tuning it every day. We kept improving our offers, kept improving it, making the messaging more clear and more compelling. You want to be like, you want to have your clients like come to you and go, how do I work with you? The more people come to you, the better. And this is what we do in our traffic generation too. We do very little paid advertising, almost none at all. A lot of what we do is through content marketing. And you see, this is something that's outside the scope of this entire conversation, but we do it very organically. And in our blog posts and our articles that we post that entices people to come to our site, we create compelling offers that helps drive people to come to our webinars. You probably came to our webinar because you saw one of our compelling offers and it struck a note for you and a chord for you. So that's why you're here on the webinar. So you really want to learn how to create compelling offers, word your offers in a way that's truthful, within integrity, and gets people in the door. The third thing you want to learn to do is do smart experiments to test out your markets. So some of you may have heard of split testing, where you test two different web pages at the same time to see which one gives you the best results. You can also do that with target markets. You can test out a market and see which markets are giving you the best results and start focusing more on those markets. You want to learn how to do that over time without losing your shirt and without spending too much money or time or getting overwhelmed. The fourth thing it's important again to do is to build traffic from day one. So we do it, like I shared, organically. Bill is a master in content marketing. He's been doing this for years, and he's an expert and a master at it, really. And I learn a lot from him every week as well. And so we've been doing this for a long time, where we built our content on Meetup. You can actually build content on Meetup. It's not just the articles, it's your events as well that you post. But if your site doesn't have a lot of content marketing, you certainly want to come and talk to us about this, how you can develop this and build your traffic. Traffic, by traffic, I mean people actually coming to your website to look at you, and also coming to your events and to your one-on-one presentations, etc. And the best way to do this is what we call organic traffic. In other words, creating content in your site that's relevant to your audience, that your audience finds through Google. Google likes you because they keep finding you because you got relevant content. So you want to learn to build traffic from day one, and preferably organically, like I said. Okay. Okay. The fifth thing you want to do is to build systems to convert for each market. So by this I mean if you have traffic coming to your site, it's extremely important that you have systems or messaging on your website that can convert. In other words, people come to your site, they're intrigued by what you're saying, you're making offers that make sense to them, and they're more likely to purchase from you. Okay, we have about a 40 to 50% conversion rate from people come to our website offering the webinar to people actually signing up for the webinar. And that's a pretty decent conversion rate. But you want to be able to create that, measure it, improve it over time so you have an efficient system that can sustainably provide results for you. So it's very important to create those kinds of systems, but you want to understand your target markets first in those steps that I outlined for you. Okay, the sixth thing is to set up a system and structure for refinement, staying on track. And this is where people actually fall off the steps leading to breakthroughs. It's because they don't have a system and structure for staying on track and also for refining their system so it produces results consistently. If you're not refining your systems, it's like having a garden and not tending to it over time. Over time, your plants are going to die if you don't look after them. If you don't water them, if you don't observe them, take care of them, put in the right fertilizer, make sure they're in the right sunlight, your plants are probably going to die. Same thing's going to happen to your marketing if you don't refine it over time. The last thing seems almost obvious, but it's really the art and science of getting into action. So unfortunately, a lot of you are probably not going to get into action. It's statistically true, and I hope you're not part of that statistic. But majority of people will come to webinars or trainings, but they won't do or apply the things that are going to make the most sense for them, and they won't apply it in a way that works inside of their own style and their own personality. It's important to customize it and then get into action as soon as possible. The sooner you train your mind to get into action, the more likely you are to translate what you learn into actual results. Got to get into action too. So how to make sure that you follow through on this process to success? Well, the first thing, like I mentioned, is to get into the practice of constant refinement. And one of the things to look at every day is to make sure that your mission statement or your values that you have are reflected in both your long-term and short-term goals. So you got to create these values and identify them and word them out and write them out so you're clear what they are. You got to make sure also that your long-term goals, your one-year goals, and your short-term goals, in other words, your goals for today, your marketing goals especially, are all going in the same direction. In other words, you're not addressing different target markets with the same messaging. It's all going in a sensible direction that's designed to fulfill in your values, but also fulfill in our long-term and short-term goals. So they all have to be going in the same direction. Just like a water skier, you want to make sure that your skis are going in the same direction, right? It's not a good idea to have your skis going in different directions. I heard it can be very painful. Number two tactic to help you follow through in this process to success is to do consistent dialogue. This is where a coach or a mentor becomes really powerfully. I'm so glad I had my mentor when I first started, because I don't think I could have made it without him. In fact, I'm pretty sure I would not have. It would have been a lot of fits and starts, and I probably would have figured out it maybe in a year or two later, but it would have delayed a lot of the success that I had. So consistent dialogue. We work with our clients almost on a daily basis through email, short phone calls, long phone calls. And it's that consistency that helps people get past their being or feeling stuck. When you get stuck, sometimes a lot of people stay stuck for quite a long time, sometimes for a couple of hours, sometimes for days or weeks. That's a lot of money you're leaving on the table. For those of you who want to make $500,000 to $1 million a year, I invite you to strongly consider that your time is worth at least about $1,500 to $2,000 an hour. So every hour you waste in, trying to decide what you're going to do is time wasted. So you want to make sure that you're on the right track there. Okay. Um, so I'm not sure why you showed up here today. And some of you have different reasons for showing up for this webinar or this training. But I know some of you are tired because I've heard from some of you and you've sent me email questions, which I'll get here pretty soon. But you're tired of trying different marketing tactics without a clear vision, strategy, and plan. You may be tired of being overwhelmed and stuck. You want to feel clear and confident about the steps you're taking daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly towards the fulfillment of your dreams and ambitions. And this is for yourself, your family, and your community. And you want to learn how to get there quickly. Deep down in your heart, you know that you have the capability and the capacity to get things done. And all that may be missing for you is a solid customized plan with a sensitive but realistic dialogue partner or coach to guide you to your way to success. And who will help you chunk down these steps into things that make sense within your own calendar, your own plan, where you're at right now, if you're starting out or you're midterm of your business. It's got to be customized to your style, your way of doing things. And some things you may have to change, but for the most part, it's got to make sense to you. So this is your time for success, what I say, in your own style, with the results that you want, and with a plan and a system that works for you. And so the obvious question is, how do I make this all work so I can get things up and running as quickly as possible? And there are two options. One option is you can do what I call the long-term suffering approach, which is what most people do. They get into overwhelm. They have no complete satisfaction. They have inconsistent results and incremental results at best. The other option is that you can find long-term joy, which is clarity daily, focus daily, traction, and breakthrough. And what I'm inviting you to is long-term joy. Most people tolerate long-term suffering because they think, they can do they can do short spurts of joy from time to time. They watch TV, they relax from time, they have a vacation from time to time. But what's really going on is the long-term suffering in the background. With long-term joy, you may have to pay the price a little bit upfront in terms of some investment in time and money and energy. But you want to make sure that the time and energy and money pays off for your long-term joy. And so what I'm inviting you to do is into a world of creating a system that works for you, a system that is customized to what you need, your circumstances, your target market, and your desired levels of goals. And the first step is really to define the game. If you've defined the game already, then you want to look at the score you desire. What is the score that you want to have by the end of the year? And then what kind of score will help you or convince you that you've won the game or that you desire to have as a winning game? What is the plan to get over the hurdle so you can win the game well? So what we're inviting to, and we're offering a free gift here. And in this free gift, you're going to look at what is your gap. In other words, how you can close that gap, where you're at right now and where you desire to be. And Bill and I are really committed that you close this gap as soon as possible. So we're offering a free consultation with us. It's 1 hour over the phone. It's a marketing strategy session that's designed to create your breakthrough for the year. So it's a breakthrough business strategy session. And in this session, we're going to help you address your biggest challenges and roadblocks. We're going to clarify your vision, plan, and strategy. In fact, we're going to come up with a 1-year plan for you with some milestones. You can see your progression. And then we're going to make some recommendations to get past your challenges and hit your goals. And there may be recommendations in terms of time management or accountability or marketing strategy and all of the above. This is completely complimentary. There's no charge for applying or for the session itself, but there are limited spaces, and that's why we have an application process. You have to apply for this, and the sooner you apply for this, the better. Next week is completely filled up in terms of time slots for me to do the session. And so is the following week, except for a few slots that I have for the following week. Those slots are probably going to be filled up today. In fact, they probably already are, because I got some applications last night at another presentation I did. So it's only for a limited time. So make sure you get your slot for these sessions. How you apply for the session is you go to yourvipss.com. That's www.yourvipss.com. And you want to fill out the application with as much detail as possible so we can assess your application and approve or disapprove, as the case might be. We will respond to you if you're approved. Only we will respond to you within 24 business hours, and schedule a time with you. So you want to make sure you get your slot as soon as possible by going to yourvipss.com and applying right there. So some of the questions I have right now, I'm going to answer very quickly here. I do a lot of one-on-one sales. Can I convert to can I convert this to a marketing engine? Yes, you can. And typically, sometimes how we start, not all the time with most of our clients, sometimes what we do is we start with what's already working. If it is working, if we're doing one-on-one sales, we want to look and see what's working for you in terms of generating the traffic, or the kinds of the queues or the prospects or list of prospects that are coming to you, but also how to fine-tune your one-on-one presentation and adapt and adopt it to your online marketing. So we can do a lot of the intriguing things that you do in the one-on-one presentations and put it in your website so that people are really getting intrigued by you. Very good question. Thank you for that. Does your strategy session help me with, or will help me with, my time management and planning? Yes, absolutely. If you have time management issues, we'll help you with that as well. Make sure you apply for the strategy session so we can help you with that. Do that in a timely fashion. So those of you who are tend to be procrastinators, the best thing to do is right now stop procrastinating and make sure you apply for the strategy session with me. I'm already doing well, but I'm concerned about the time involved if I were to do or apply some of the things that you suggest. This is a very good question because in our coaching programs, we train people to spread out your time and your planning. So not everything has to be done tomorrow or the next week or even the next month. You'll find when you work with us, we'll actually intelligently spread it out over the year so you're not over inundated with work, but you're actually producing work and results in a very timely but efficient manner. So you want to look at spreading out your work over time. It's a very good question. Thank you for that. I have a very traditional business that involves legal and financial planning. Will audiences respond to the kind of marketing you do online? Yes, absolutely, you can. We've done this for some of our clients who are in the financial planning field for sure, and in the legal field too. A lot of people in the legal field are beginning to realize the importance of moving online. Now, you can do this very appropriately, and this is something you have to learn. This is something you have to start with the target marketing and the strategy first. Figure out your target market first. And then with the psychology that you learn from us, you can start making very appropriate messaging to your clients. Very highly appropriate, very professional, and very compelling marketing messages to your clients or your prospects so that you can get engaged. And we can do this in a very appropriate way. You don't have to start selling right off or occurring like a car salesman to them. You build it up very appropriately over time with content marketing, with articles that make sense for them. You build the trust, and then as they go along, you start making offers that make sense or are appropriate at the stage they're in terms of building their relationship with you. Thank you for that question. Will this help? Will a strategy session help build traffic? Yes. Yeah, that's one of the things we'll look at if it makes sense for you, which it probably will. So we'll go over how that works and how you can build it up organically in your style, in your business, in your market, and your industry. So we'll help you do that in the strategy session. It's a repeat question, but okay, it's kind of appropriate. I own a financial planning business. How do you work inside of compliance issues? Yeah, this is a very good question because people in the financial planning world have they have to stay true to certain rules and regulations in terms of marketing. And yes, we're quite familiar with a lot of that, and we've worked with our clients to work with their compliance departments to get their marketing approved. It's a bit of work, but it's worth the time because if you do it, I promise you're going to be ahead of your competition because most competition that you have in other financial planners, in other words, are probably not going to do that. So you'll be in a very good position to do that if you actually go through the compliance. We're actually surprised that some compliance departments now are actually getting a lot more understanding about online marketing. You just have to really make sure that you're doing it appropriately and within their guidelines. So that's fairly straightforward to do. It may take a bit of work and time and organization of thinking, but it can be done. Last week in our last webinar, you talked about boredom. Um, I was intrigued by your conversation, by what you said, sorry. And so how can I create a future vision to make sure that I'm not in boredom? Well, I mean, to be honest with you, it requires a conversation face to face or voice to voice for yourself, because everyone has a different vision. Um, and you can find something that's very concrete and near to your heart. And I mean both concrete and near to your heart, because it has to be real for you as well. It's something that you find worth pursuing. So for some of you, it may be your family. That's your future vision. You want to make sure you leave a legacy. Some of you may be your community. Some of you may be something more business oriented. You want to make a vast amount of money, and that's what's really going to drive you. I have a pair of clients who their mission statement is to become $1 billion team, and it's something that lights them up, and that's what they want to do. And it's nothing, it has nothing to do with solving hunger and poverty issues. It's whatever is near and dear to your heart that's going to drive you forward. And like I said, that involves a conversation. It can't be done online. There's no app in the world that can do that for you. There's no computer program that can do it for you. It requires conversation. We're essentially social animals or social mammals. Our brains have been designed to be more social. And it's in social and conversation that even if you are a introvert, or even if you are a psychopath for that matter, I'm sure none of you are, but anyway, the point is that you're social and your brains are designed to be social, to work inside a conversation, to see things that you may not have seen before, to identify blind spots that you can, if you identify, take to your advantage. Sometimes blind spots can turn to your advantage because you learn, okay, these are my weaknesses, but if I can leverage my strengths, then I can supersede my weaknesses and really make a dent in the market. So you need those kind of conversations to help you identify your future vision, so you stay out of boredom. And you also stay out of anxiety and move into what we call flow. Flow is when your challenge levels are just ahead of your skill levels, or your skill levels are just about meeting your challenge levels. You got that sweet spot and your performance is just great. You're getting insights, you feel really good. It's not going to happen all the time, but if you get it at least a good portion of your day, it's a very sweet place to be in your entrepreneurship. Next question. In your program, how often do you stay in touch? For a lot of our clients, we actually stay in touch daily. That's on an email basis. It's a very wonderful way to do it. We've really cracked the code in how to do that effectively through email. There's also short phone calls that we do and long phone calls that we do twice a month. So there's a lot of opportunities, and there are group coaching calls as well that we do every week that you get opportunities for coaching. So there's a lot of high touch in the program. Thank you for asking that question. How do you gauge pricing for myself? Well, the best way to do that is to test your markets. And it sounds silly, but to test your market out. And you may want to try actually increasing your prices from time to time. Now, this again depends on your vision. This is why we got to have a conversation with you and help you elucidate this for yourself, because everybody's different. Everybody's got a different style. Some psychotherapists, for example, resist increasing their prices for good reasons. So it really depends on your market and your industry. But a lot of times what stops people, or tends to stop people, is their own psychology or their own philosophy for that matter. So they may have conflicting values. On the one hand, they want to make more money. On the other hand, they feel like increasing the prices goes against serving their clients. So we'll help you break through that and come to a reasonable, rational conclusion that will leave you clear. The important thing is to be clear, so you have all your gears going in the same direction. That will tell you what your pricing should be. Great question again. Thank you. These are really good questions. Do you only do online systems, or do you help design offline systems? By this person means offline systems like presentations, live speaking events, selling your books, etc. Yeah, we help you with that as well. Absolutely. And the best thing to do is probably come on a conversation with us, and we'll talk more about that. What is the cost of our program? A 1-year program, our VIP Academy program. Right now it's priced at $7,500 for the year, but we are offering a very generous discount if you come on the strategy session and work with us, and we see it's a good match. Not every, it's not a good match all the time. Sometimes there are other programs that we have that may be a better match, but the VIP program is what I advocate for people coming on this webinar for sure. So we're offering a generous discount for the program, as well as there's an early start program. So if you start early for it, you get the discount, plus you get to start early with us. So definitely come in the strategy session so we can assess if it's going to be a good match for you. Do you do sales training for teams? Yeah, we do. In our 1-year programs, we actually incorporate that sometimes because that's just what makes sense. So you have a marketing team, we'll include them in the conversations as well, so you can have all your gears again going in the same direction. I'm having difficulty in launching my business. Help. This is probably the same person from last week. Anyway, again, you probably want to come on the strategy session so we can find out what the exact difficulties you're experiencing are. Make sure when you fill out the form, to tell us what your challenges are so I can help you from day one. Okay, so make sure you do that. All right, next question. I'm starting a business and I have a lot of projects, personal as well. And I'm trying to decide what I really want to focus on if I want to even do my business. This is a good question. I know some of you may be grappling with this. And if you're trying to decide at a high level if you really want to focus on the business, otherwise, listen, we're probably going to save you a lot of time if you come on a strategy session so we can help you make that decision sooner rather than later. The sooner you have both feet in your business, the better, because if you have one foot out, not a good way to run a business or even launch one. My audience seems scattered. How do I find and target? Okay, great. That's a great question. What we look for are commonalities in your current audience. So are they all the same pain points, or do they have different pain points? We can group them in different markets that way. So sometimes we look at your current audience. It may not be your current clients. Maybe the people you're already addressing have expressed interest. They may not have bought so far, but they're interested in some level. So we try to identify, based on the current interest level, audience, what kind of psychology they have, what kind of pain points they have, what kind of magazines they go, where did they find you, how did they find you, etc., etc. So that's important to do. In a strategy session, we probably need to talk a little bit more, identify the trends. If you bring some of that data to the strategy session, we might help you identify what your target markets may really be. This is just a comment. Thank you for the distinction of the boat versus pleasure distinction. That really helps a lot. You're very welcome, Catherine. Thank you for sharing that comment. Let's see here. Next question. Research. For the research phase, it's sometimes difficult to get my audience to respond in the past to surveys. How do I do that? Okay. We have some tricks up our sleeves on how to increase the engagement with your current clients. Sometimes you offer them incentives. There's certain things to do. And again, it depends on your target market. But it's actually worth sometimes paying your target market, not too much, but a relevant amount of money or some incentives or prizes in order to get them engaged. Sometimes we do that, not all the time. We encourage doing one-on-ones. And again, there are ways that we can do it. A lot of times clients just want to share with you and have your time for a few minutes, even if it's for a few minutes. And they like to serve you. They just haven't figured out that it's going to really serve you. The surveys or the requests you may have made in the past were too impersonal. So again, it's the art and science of selling. You want to sell the idea that they can come and contribute to your business and get more engagement that way. So there are ways that you can do that. Again, if you want to learn more about that, engage with us in the conversation and strategy session. We'll help you do that. Okay, next question here. Can you teach us how to create scarcity? Okay, yeah, scarcity is a marketing term that means, it's a scarce resource. So when we say limited seats, and we really mean it. I mean, it's limited. It's only for a limited amount of time before we do our program, and then, that goes away. So when you create scarcity, you're saying stuff like that. It's only for a limited time. We're offering the discount only for a limited time. And that's not, it's not trying to be untruthful or trying to, overly manipulate people. It's just the truth. And, it's from an economic sense, it makes sense for you as a marketing person to do so, because you want to really, it serves people to create some urgency for people. A lot of people tend to procrastinate and not do anything, and it doesn't serve them. And the longer they wait, the less, they're really going to do something to really move themselves forward. So sometimes you got to create enough urgency or scarcity, as the term may be, to create that. But yeah, you can teach us. And, at this point, I mean, the webinar is coming to a close. But so you want to probably get on a strategy session so we can really do that with you in a more effective manner. Because scarcity really depends on your market, what people really want. Again, I can't overemphasize, each of you are going to have different circumstances. So you're going to have to really deal with it separately. There's no one solution fits everybody. But generally speaking, scarcity is a good thing to put into your messaging. And there are appropriate levels to do that, depending on the market again. But once you really understood your market, yeah, you can create scarcity. Sometimes in a program, it may take about a month or so to do the research before you figure out what levels of scarcity you can provide or should provide in your marketing. Okay, last question here. How do I set up smart experiments? And can you help me set up smart experiments in my marketing so I can test out my marketing? Yeah, we can do that. Absolutely, that's what we do. We do a lot of that on a day-to-day basis, sometimes with our clients. Oftentimes, we'll run an experiment for a week and see what kind of results we get. We have one of our clients who is testing out a market in China right now. So we're going to run some smart experiments there for different kinds of salary levels and see what kind of response we get. The best way to test your market is to do smart experiments, experiments that don't cost you too much money or time, that can run and give you good data. By good data, I mean it's the data that's going to help you make a clear decision whether you should focus in this market or not. So again, I can't overemphasize this, but the most important thing really at this point, if you're if you're trying to figure out what you want to do next, what your action item should be, the best action item for you, I would say at this point, is to get on the website yourvipss.com and apply for that strategy session before time runs out for it. And so again, that website is www.yourvipss.com. Make sure you go to that site and apply for it, and we'll again respond within 24 business hours. If your application is approved, that is, we'll respond within that time frame. Make sure you put sufficient detail in that questionnaire so that we can approve your session and have enough data to say, okay, this is worth our time and your time to do so. And again, we look forward to serving you in the future. There'll be another webinar next week, but don't wait till then. Make sure you move into action. If you tend to be a procrastinator, the best solution for procrastination is not to procrastinate anymore. Inform your mind and your psyche and yourself that you're doing. There's a new boss in town, and you're willing to take, and you will take action decisively. And so make sure you go to yourvipss.com and apply there. Again, thank you for the opportunity to make a difference in your life and your business. We look forward to serving you in the future. We look forward to seeing you in the strategy session. Take care and have a wonderful day.